Welcome to the Fee for Service Dentist Podcast, Dr. Sonny Spira. Today, our guest is Dr. Lior Tamir and his product and company, thedentalapp.com. It's a great product. I've had a chance to demo it and talk to him extensively about it, and we're working forward, and hopefully that we will see that in our office fairly soon. His background is tremendous. He is a recent grad. He graduated and he fell out of love of dentistry, went 6 years into his own business in a tech company, dabbled continuing dentistry, but then came back and said, you know what? I got to do my own thing. So he bought a building, rehabbed it, and he grew it from a 0 to 2 million in 2 years. Why? He knows how to run a business. He understands systems, and he believes give more than what people pay for. You're really going to love this episode. Very good, very informative, and just super easygoing guy to talk to. And if you need to reach him, thedentalapp.com is where his company is based on. Special offer coming with this episode to all our listeners. And as always, the Fee for Service Dentist Podcast is sponsored by Kettenbach. Kettenbach Dental, very excited to announce the first major advancement in fluoride dental varnishes. No longer using alcohol or resin. Instead, it's delivered with a muco-adhesive dimethicone gel, leaving a smooth and silky lubricious feel. No more grit. Contact Kettenbach today for more details. Call 877-532-2123 or visit kettenbachusa.com. If you like the podcast, click like, click subscribe, share it with your friends, watch it on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, all things where you can find your podcast. You'll find us there. The Fee for Service Dentist. If you don't like it or you want to see something else or you want to come on, by all means, hit me up, sonnyspira@gmail.com, or text or call me. This is my personal cell, 607-624-2962. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the show.
My name is Drew Burns, and I'm a part of a small group of dentists who believe something crazy. We believe that the standard of care is just not good enough. We demand the best of ourselves and the best for our patients. We believe that the best way? No, the only way to practice dentistry is on our own terms. If you ask the dental consultants or the corporate CEOs, they tell you that what we're doing isn't smart, that fee-for-service dentistry is dead, and that the golden age of dentistry is over. Yet, while others focus on profits first, we focus on the patient first. And yet our offices are some of the most profitable in the entire country because we invest in ourselves and we are doing things right. It's our name on the door and it's our reputation on the line. My name is Drew Burns and I am a fee-for-service dentist. This is the Fee-for-Service Dentist Podcast and these are our stories.
Welcome to the Fee for Service Dentist Podcast. Special guest today is Dr. Lior Tamir, who is a dentist and an entrepreneur. And as a dentist, he figured out we needed a better software management business system, right? So as a dentist, if you were to say, hey, listen, I want to set up a software that handles my practice, but I also want to focus on some of the business aspects that we all really could appreciate. So let me give you a background and then we'll rock and roll. It's going to be a great show. Dr. Lior Tamir is a practicing dentist and founder of The Dental App, a powerful practice management platform that consolidates all the tools needed to run and grow a dental practice. Over the 15 years that he's practiced dentistry, Dr. Tamir has started and scaled multiple de-novo practices to multi-million-dollar operations and has consulted and worked with hundreds of dentists, helping them find growth opportunities and improve operations in their offices. With an extensive background in building businesses, Dr. Tamir and his team developed the Dental App, a practice management platform designed to streamline practice efficiency and boost practice growth with tools that help fill empty seats, get paid faster, and deliver consistently stellar patient experiences. So please join me. Welcome, Dr. Tamir. How are we doing, Lior?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Sonny. And I got to say, you got a great voice. You sound like one of those announcers at a big sporting event. This is perfect for you. So that was
I get rezzed all the time, man. Thank you. Thank you. I've tried to work on it. I've tried to enunciate better because I'm My nickname in practice used to be Dr. Mumbles. That was, they bought me a t-shirt on the back that said Dr. Mumbles because I would talk long. They want to say too much and they want to upset the patient, like that was it. Now it's just, hey, here it is. How you doing?
Yeah, that was really good. So thanks for having me. I'm super excited to, we've had a few conversations and
Yes.
you suggested we hop on this and kind of have a conversation, share more what we're up to. And I'm really grateful to be on this. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I had a conversation, full disclosure. We started looking into, we have, most of we have 5 dental offices and we run them as a group, right? With each one having their own unique qualities. So we used a cloud-based software called Ascend from Henry Schein. And needless to say, they have changed a lot of their pricing structures. They have changed a lot of the things that they've done, and they haven't done what they told us it would do 6 years ago. And we're 6 years now. We're still waiting on things that were promised back then. So long story short, we started to look and got a hold of Lior, or Lior was put in contact with me through Bob D, through Dentistry in General. And we had a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. I did a demo, or he did a demo for me. And I was like, this is great, but I wonder how it works for us because I don't really play with this much at all in my office. So I'm going to need my team. I'm going to need some help. So we just sat down and we looked at it and was really a very well thought out application and plan. And we're gonna get into that. But first I want to touch base on his background because de-novo practices, starting from scratch. If kind of like been there, done that, I think he could write a book and a half. So let's just talk. What's your background? How did you get into dentistry? Let's start there.
That is a great question. And it's more like dentistry picked me than I picked dentistry.
Really?
Yeah, I went to UOP undergrad and I really was learning. I mean, I was a musician in high school, pretty serious player. And I started UOP studying music. And I was doing a double major in music and biology, and kind of biology kind of stuck and music became less and less what I was focused on. And at the time, UOP, the undergraduate program is the feeder program into the dental school. And, I was kind of tapped and said, hey, you got pretty good grades, you should try to apply. And I applied. And at the time, I was just so young, I didn't really know what to do with my life. And I thought, oh, this sounds like a great idea, and made my parents happy. And that was kind of how I got into dental school. And so
this is a great trajectory. I've not come across anybody so far.
Well, my parents, nobody in my family was a dentist, right? So I didn't grow up in a dental home. And actually that plays a really big part of my journey. And my dad was actually a musician, and then he was an entrepreneur. He started multiple businesses and kind of got into the medical device space. And that's kind of where he made his career. And my mom was a nurse and a stay-at-home mom. And so,
So listen to that. So your mom has the healthcare background. Your dad has the entrepreneur background. So where you're at is not an accident, right? I mean, really.
I went to school to study.
How cool is that? Yeah,
it really is a wild trajectory how it all ended up. And to be honest with you, I got out of dental school. I was like 23 years old. I really did. I was like a kid. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life at the time. It was a weird time also. I got out of dental school in 2009. It was the peak of the recession. And I got out and I didn't have any family that said, oh, come and work in my practice. I was just out there trying to hunt for a job and could barely find any opportunities in dentistry at the time. So I was pretty much working as a hygienist on a 2 days a week basis and getting paid peanuts. And actually, this is a really interesting part. I ended up leaving dentistry. So I left dentistry for about 6.5 years, and I started working in, yes, I know. I started working in tech, and that comes full circle. So I started working in marketing tech or MarTech and ad tech, and ended up building a marketing agency and advertising company. And we built software that optimized ad spend for advertisers. And so I built this agency, did a lot of fundraising for that company, and did a big strategic deal with now a publicly traded company, WMIMG. So they own 2,700 events, including, the rights to promote Wimbledon, New York Fashion Week. And so I was running the digital arm for a lot of their events that they were doing. And one thing led to another. The margins in that business became so difficult. We kind of wrapped that business up at the end of 2015, and then decided to get back into dentistry on a full-time basis. And that's kind of how I go full circle. In 2016, I found a de-novo facility, so just like a dilapidated facility in my hometown, and I ended up signing the lease, and that's where I got back full swing into dentistry in 2016.
So you're out of dentistry 6 years.
So I was practicing like a day a week.
Very successfully into your next phase of your career. Then you don't even think to go back in slow. You think I'm going to buy a building and I'm gonna just reimagine this. So that's huge. That's big thinking. Good for you.
I'll tell you this. When I got out of dental school, I didn't really know a lot about, there's things about dentistry that I hadn't yet discovered in terms of like technology and materials and the science and the art behind it. I mean, I got out of dental school, again, no mentors, no family to say, hey, like, look, this is the magic behind dentistry. And I kind of fell out of love with it, through the dental school process. And it did take me a solid 6-7 years to really go back and appreciate not just the degree I had, but the art and science of dentistry and caring for people, and so on. And I just, in many ways, I kind of had to just see that process through and grow up. I was, 23 when I got out, and I just.
Now, why 23? You were young. Most people are graduating 25, 26. Well,
yeah, so you have that great program where it's like the 2+3 or 3+3. So you do kind of a combined undergrad and grad program. I ended up doing that. So I did a 3+3. So in 6 years.
Okay, so in 6 years instead of 8. All right, that makes sense. Exactly. Wow, but that's accelerated not only in just your undergrad, that's accelerated in your dental program too.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you're at the top of the top. So you're a high achiever, and I'm sure the dental school had high expectations for you, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think UOP is definitely considered one of the better programs, especially when it comes to clinical science. And really, I think this is actually a really interesting point. I think they prepared us clinically to be able to, not screw up too bad, right? I mean, you learn so much when you're out of school, but they they teach you just enough to kind of to get through. But probably the biggest thing that I don't think any school really teaches enough of is, practice ownership and what it means to actually run a business, because it's just a total beast. And, I think a huge shortcoming in terms of the education that's available, not only in dental school, but also when you get out of dental school, right? Like today, if you want to take a CE course on how to prep veneers or how to do root canals or all on X, I mean, there's like hundreds, if not thousands of courses, but there's very few courses that really teach you how to better operate and run a business.
Right.
And anyways,
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I started to get back into teaching a little bit at my dental school at Buffalo. It's kind of morphed into a little more of career kind of lectures about, what's an associateship, how can you buy in, what are the numbers. It's trying to give a little more real world behind it, because let's face it, I'm not in those four walls. I'm not governed by what I have to say, politically correct, whatever. I can say how I feel. So it may contradict what they have been told up to that point, right? So that's okay. I think they do need to hear it, and they can tell me to go take a bath or whatever, but at least they're going to get something from a different viewpoint, especially now that the corporate dentistry has really infiltrated our education system in dental schools. They don't hear anything in the private world, right? The private sector. So let's get back to this other part, because the part that I'm thinking about now, okay, 6 years, you're not really practicing dentistry. A lot changes in the clinical field. You have a whole hell of a lot better grip on running a business, because you grew a business, you raised, you did the whole thing, right? Now, are you intimidated by the clinical aspect starting?
Okay, so that's a great question. So, I continue to practice about a day a week throughout that entire period of time. So I never
all right.
I
Okay.
would, just basic
Yeah, you
things.
kept your fingers in it. Okay.
Yeah, and then as soon as I decided to get back into it, I really took a deep dive into clinical CE courses and said,
Mhm.
okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be the best I could possibly be, and really wanted to educate myself and push myself and so on. And so, I was pig patient or anything like that. But what's interesting is like kind of like you said, running a business, I learned so much, and I wasn't running just like some basic business. I had investors, I had a board, I had over 60 employees at one point, offices in 3 different cities, and my customers were Fortune 500, Fortune 100. Big time CMOs that really needed results, and so on and so forth. And so I really had to develop or learn a lot about running the business on the fly. I ended up building a really sophisticated operation. And then when I got back into dentistry on a full-time basis, I started a de novo practice in my hometown, and was just kind of like, all right, well, how do I take all these things that I had
Yeah,
learned over years in terms of obviously different business processes, managing the P&L, looking at, all the different logistics of running the business, how do I implement it into dentistry? And what became really clear is at the beginning, I was trying to operate with systems that were available. So, I started putting together, the systems that I could find. So at the time, it was like Open Dental. I was connected to Next Health. I eventually added Dental Intel. I was running my claims with Dental Exchange.
right.
And I kind of put this hodgepodge together of technology pieces, but I was still building business operation workflows for my staff and doing it in a manual fashion, right? So for example, following up with patients that have outstanding treatment, keeping track of, insurance payments, like once you submit a claim, how do you keep track of claims that have been outstanding for a prolonged period of time? Like just manual
Insurance
processes.
aging report. Yep. Yep.
Exactly. So I was using all the systems that I had, but in a really manual fashion, trying to pull one thing from another and
Sure.
trying to pull together everything to create a business operation. And really that's where the dental app came about. I mean, it's very cliche. People say, you eat your own dog food kind of thing. It was very much that way. When I started the dental app, I didn't know it was gonna have to become a full-blown practice management suite. Actually, the first thing I built was a clinical workflow to help me communicate better with patients, to help them better understand the why behind their treatment, and then
Yep.
to give them a better understanding of a game
Sorely
plan.
lacking right now. Sorely lacking.
Right. And honestly, that's why I started, right? So I built out this workflow, and then it was like, okay, well, I got to plug this into a treatment plan, and then I got to plug it into insurance, then I got to plug it into a report, and it became like
Yeah.
this full system. But it was very much out of need, and not just need because I couldn't make it work with the systems, but to run and scale a sophisticated business with business operations, there's nothing that existed that helped me with that.
Right.
So
Very true.
yeah,
So what I find interesting, right, is you familiar with Stephen Covey?
no,
Okay, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, one of my favorite books. Start
okay,
with the end in mind. So here you are starting your own business. You almost have the end in mind. You know how the organizational structure, you understand like how the workflow, and now you need to make it dentistry, not tech, but use tech to improve the dentistry part. Right now, I think what you're saying, I've heard Howard France say this for years, that the dental software is lacking on this component, the business component. Like it's not connected to your accounting software. It should be. Why do we have 15 million add-on products to all these dental software PMSs? It should be part of the PMS. Like it just
totally.
tells me that we're either very narrow focused or we like to spread the wealth by having multiple people come in and do this. And then it gets confusing, right? And they have so many overlapping things. So
Exactly. And
we
I think
found
that
that ourselves.
yeah,
It's
and dentists are
crazy.
so it's like subscription fatigue.
Yeah,
And we always joke around, there's like this concept of a dental tax. Like as soon as you hear the word dental or dentist, the price for things just goes up. Like in every other profession or industry, you can get like really solid software that does most of what you need at a reasonable price,
Yeah.
except our industry. And we still have doctors like arguing about whether they should go on the cloud or not. I mean, it's 2024, we bank online, you know, we buy Bitcoin, we fly, you know, we buy flights online, we manage our assets online. I mean, you could buy a house online, you could buy a private airplane online, but we can't run our
To buy a
practices.
dental practice online. Yeah.
Exactly, but you know, it's just such a weird I feel like inflection point
Yeah.
where there's a real I think there's a huge opportunity to bring to market something that solves, you know, the problems for dentists. I think another thing that's really important to point out, and this is actually one of the core kind of principles of our business, like the dental app is never going to build everything. We're going to build the things that we're the best at. But what we do is we've built integrations with all the best in class systems out there that, for example, if you want AI vision for your x-rays, right? We've connected to SodaCloud and Pearl. If you want AI for your notes, we've connected to Bola. So we've really done our research and our best efforts to make it so that, you know, you can buy the core system with all the most important functionality. And then if you want all these fancy add-ons, you don't have to do a lot of research. You just kind of flip a switch and it works directly in our system. And I
Which
think
is
that
very
that's
hard for my understanding is a lot of the cloud-based systems don't play very nice with a lot of these alternatives. At least I found that with Ascend, and I've seen that with some other ones, you know. But I know
yep,
Ascend is very proprietary, and they like to keep everybody else out of there, you know. And
yep,
now they have modules that they want to charge you for and add on to that are things that were promised 6 years ago. But I digress. So that's, you know, that's kind of the MO, right? And yours, I mean, it's simple, but I like the fact that it's dentist based from a dentist, okay, who understands, I think, what dentists need to, you said it, right, to grow, to patient experiences improving, all those things that we want. That's the core values of what we want. Now, why not have a system that does those things or focuses on those things as primary?
exactly. I think there's also a lot, there's a lot of kind of there's a lot of talk about this concept of a CRM layered on top of dental practice management software. So I've
For
been
folks,
saying this
CRM is what? CRM is
customer relationship management, right? So in a traditional business, like a tech business or any other business, imagine instead of a practice management software, you have a lead tracking software, right? So you keep track of people who are interested in doing business with you, and you have a way to keep track of an ongoing deal and the different stages of a deal and so on. And I like most recently at the big DSO conference, there's and I heard this, I wasn't there. There was a big talk about how the future is a CRM on top of practice management software. And so I feel like there's finally a little bit more momentum talking about how dental software needs more business operations related components to really make it worthwhile. And so it's actually a really exciting time because, you know, as we were saying, when we run our practices, doing the clinical work is just a small part of it, right? Like
it
it's all
is.
about keeping
It's the
track of
easiest part.
exactly, right? Like the hardest part for us is filling our schedule, making sure we get paid on time, making sure that we're keeping track of what our staff is doing, keeping track of patients that have outstanding treatment, of their preferences, and so on. And that essentially is what a CRM is used for in every other business. The dental app is just one of the first to really build those features out right out of the box. So, you know, out of the box, you have all the things that you need you know, to run your practice. You have scheduling, online scheduling, reminders, text messages, the clinical side of things, insurance claims. But now you have peppered on top of that the ability to search your patient base based on what's outstanding, you know, what treatments do they need, create nurturing campaigns, et cetera, et cetera. And that's kind of the direction and the vision for the dental app.
Okay. So let's go back to now. So you're, if I got my numbers and ages right, you graduate 23, 6 years. So you're 29 or 30, and you're going to buy a dilapidated building in your town. What did that
Pretty
look like? And then what did it become?
That is, you know, it's a very memorable time in my life. I'll never forget this office had, so it was a pediatric office
So
that
it was an office prior.
it was a dental office, yeah, and it built out dental office, pedo office. The dentist had defaulted on her loans. and it got confiscated. The build out the whole thing got confiscated by the bank. And so when I got in, there was a deal pending with a DSO, and I got in, I made a better offer, and they switched it around and they gave it to me. But when I started, I essentially went to the bank and I told them, look, I want to get the biggest loan I can get from you without giving you any tax information or anything. Like, what are you willing to give me? And they pretty much said, oh, we'll give you $250,000. So great, you know what? I'll pick this $250,000 in working capital, and off I went. And
that's working capital. Did you borrow for the purchase, or was that?
You know, I paid.
Okay. All right.
Saved up and made a little bit of money before, and
sure. Yeah, that's good.
And when I started, you know, the place was like painted maroon yellow. It was like this really weird yellow color, and you know, it needed a lot of work. It was it had been abandoned for a few years at that point. So things.
How many square feet?
2,000 square feet, 6 ops.
6 ops, 2,000. Was it the open bay kind where there's no windows and doors between each other?
Open bay and 2 private rooms.
Okay.
And I'm still at that office. That's one of my offices. So, you know, that was the beginning. And the first thing I did was I painted the place. I spent some money to reupholster the chairs, just kind of do some cleanup work. I still till today, I go to Trader Joe's and I buy orchids, and that's how I get my flowers done. And just started, you know, and at the beginning it was like figuring out how to get patients in, then how do I build more reputation. And by the way, I'm in Silicon Valley. I think in my town, there's over like 130 dentists. So it's a really competitive market.
Oh, that's where this is. So this office is in the Silicon Valley.
I'm smack in Silicon Valley in San Mateo.
So, California. But you graduated at UPenn Dental School.
No, UOP, University of the Pacific. So
University of Pacific. I'm sorry. Okay, I thought U of P. I just thought University of Pennsylvania. Okay, University of the Pacific. All right.
Yeah, so I went to.
I was like, man, you went across country, you did all this. You got guts. Okay, so I'm with you. So Silicon Valley, you buy this.
Yep, and I started from scratch. 0 patients, 0 charts, 0 nothing.
What was your marketing plan then? What did you do?
That's a really great question. I don't remember everything that early on. I remember a few things I did. I printed postcards. I did that. I did some online marketing, and that got me some leads. But probably the most important thing I did, there's 2 things. One is I wanted to make sure that the experience these people had was like the most detailed and thorough exam explanation and communication possibly give them. And that, you know, in Silicon Valley, like most of my patients are computer engineers, or they're in biotech, or whatever. They're very intelligent people. A lot of them are PhDs, dual degrees, whatever it is. So just really taking the time to educate patients and help them understand the why behind treatment. And that was really important.
Going out of network can be really scary, but staying in network can be even scarier and riskier too, long term. Insurance reimbursements aren't even keeping pace with inflation, which can really affect the quality of your work, not to mention the quality of your life. I'm Allison Bernstein.
I'm Dr. Josh Bernstein. We went out of network over 20 years ago, and we can show you what worked, what didn't, and how you can do it with minimal risk.
ThriveOutOfNetwork.com teaches you everything you need to know, including the most important part, which is getting your team on board. It teaches them how to communicate with patients and getting them comfortable with the entire process.
Go to ThriveOutOfNetwork.com and check it out today. That's ThriveOutOfNetwork.com.
The future of fee-for-service dentistry is based in membership patients. If you need help starting your membership plan, or if your plan is too big for your team to manage, visit dentalmembershipdirect.com to set up your free membership growth solution demo with our team.
Our show is sponsored by our good friends at Medidenta. Medidenta has served the dental community since the 1940s with award-winning innovation and a large catalog of dental products in most facets of dentistry. I personally use several of their products and recommend them to anyone I can. They are a sponsor of the program and are offering 30% off. That's right, 30% off anything site-wide at metadenta.com. Simply use the code FFSD30 at checkout and get your 30% instant savings. From CR-rated prophy angles, hygiene, high-speed handpieces, burr, endo, whitening, they more than have you covered. Their customer service is amazing, and they are willing to walk you through an order at any time. So if you have any questions, give them a call at 800-221-0750. That number, 800-221-0750. Or send them an email at orders@metadenta.com and mention the Fee-for-Service Dentistry Group and get your discounts.
And then, I started getting a few patients, but then I did something that's pretty out of the box. I flew to China, and you're going to get a kick out of this. I found a conference called Dentech China in Shanghai. I'm like, all right, let's go see what, I was trying to find ways to source products where I could maybe save some money by buying in bulk, things like that. I flew out to China and I found a manufacturer of electric toothbrushes. And I was able to get this toothbrush customized and packaged with my own custom, all that stuff landed. I think I got them down to like $12 a toothbrush. Really nice toothbrush, like multiple brush heads, kind of like a Sonicare. And I started giving those away to every new patient. And the math to me was like, okay, like for every new patient, at the very least, exam, x-rays, cleaning, it's like $360, $400, something like that. I'm giving away a $12 gift, and I'm getting, and literally patients were like, are you okay? Like, why are you giving this to me? Are you sure there's no strings attached? Like, yeah, no, this is an investment in your dental health, and we really want to give you that wow experience. And patients were like blown away. And
how many did you buy?
I bought 3,000.
Okay, that's not a huge number. 3,000 not a big number.
Yeah, I ended up giving away like 6,000 by the time I discontinued this program. But this made my practice grow like wildfire. And at the time, I also used Next Health. So they had this really great kind of like after your appointment, they would ask for feedback. And then if you gave good feedback, they'd ask you to leave a review. And so my reviews started growing significantly. My reputation started growing significantly. And then I was giving this free toothbrush away. Literally, families would come in like, oh, we heard you give free. Yep, here you go. Here's all 5 new patients. And that really made us scale fast. And so within, I think by the time 2018 ended, we had done over 2 million in collections.
So you started at $0 in 2017?
In 2016, May of 2016.
So 2 years later, you're at 2 million?
Yep. Yeah.
You got to write a book, man. But anyway, holy cow. All right. So $2 million from 0 in 2 years.
Yep.
What did your team look like when you started, and what did it look like at $2 million?
Great. These are great questions, Sonny. So the first person I hired was, she still works with me. Her name is Patty. Patty she was an office manager, but she had also been like an insurance billing RCM expert for like over 15 years at this point. She wanted a challenge. So I'll never forget this. I met her at a Blue Bottle in San Francisco on Minna Street. And I said, well, what is it going to take to get you on board? She gave me a number. I said, okay, you got it. When can we start? And she got me credentialed. And at that time, she was my front office person. She did my billing, and she was my dental assistant. So she did everything. It was just me and her. And we have some really fond memories at the time. I was living in San Francisco. I was taking the train. I didn't even have a car at the time. And just that's how I started. By the end of that year, I brought in an assistant. Actually, this assistant also is still with me today. A funny story. My assistant's name is Liv, and she hired me for my first job out of dental school back in 2009. So I'd stayed in touch with her, and I kind of had the same conversation. I said, hey, like, what's it going to take to get you on board? She gave me a number, and then I finally got to that point. I said, look, I need you to jump on in. And she was kind of moonlighting with me. She was helping me do my orders and set up my trays and just create my SOPs or standard operating procedures. And that was my team, was the 3 of us. And then it just started.
Now you focus on experience, so it had to be very personalized because you were There's not a whole lot of bodies in there, right? But there's a very direct connection between you and the patients, right?
Oh, I mean, you know, even until today, I make it really a point to just approach the room with a certain energy, which is just like, you know, take the ego out of it. You know, this is something that I talk about all the time. Like most patients, when they come to the dental office, there's so much anxiety and psychology related to the experience, you know. I mean, I've heard over these years, I've heard so many stories about just awful things that patients experience, you know, doctors yelling at them, telling them that they're awful. I've had one patient in her late 70s tell me that her endodontist slapped her because she said she was in pain. I mean, just crazy things. And so, you know, from the get-go, and what's really interesting is when I was doing my marketing company, one of the people that I got to work with, she was running a really cool experiential program for Sour Patch Kids. So I don't know if you know the candy Sour Patch Kids, obviously, right? So Sour Patch Kids in the mid-2000s, they were renting out these mansions, one in LA, one in Brooklyn. And they decked these mansions out with everything you could possibly imagine, like pianos painted in Sour Patch Kids and stuff like that. And they were bringing like up and coming musicians. They were letting them stay there, record content, and then they were using that content to promote the brand. And this whole concept of like the experience really came alive for me when I witnessed that, when I got to go to these kind of Sour Patch Kid mansions. And I tried to bring a lot of that into my office. So, you know, making sure the office smelled nice, making sure that we had, bless you, making sure that, you know, the toothbrush, making sure that the operatory itself, we hit a lot of the instruments so that people had less anxiety coming in, and really just, bless you again, really just making sure that we were purposefully designing the experience that we wanted them to have. Refreshments, how we follow up with them, how we talk to them, the format of new patient exams. And all of those things became what made us special and different. And again, all of that contributed to the success. Like if I just gave out a toothbrush and then had a really shitty experience, like no one would ever come back. But it was, you know, there's this concept of like, when you go when you purchase anything, right? You can purchase something and then get less than what you paid for. You can purchase something, get exactly what you paid for. You can purchase something and get so much more than what you paid for. And our goal was to deliberately give them so much more than what they were paying for.
Right.
And that's really the secret sauce to the success.
So what does the office look like, just to wrap up that circle? At the $2 million point, how many team members do you have?
So 2 front office people, a hygienist, 2 assistants, myself, and my first associate.
It's not a lot. That's pretty lean.
Lean office, yep. Still running a lean ship, but
Okay.
a little lot today.
All right.
Yeah.
So now I know you have other offices. What other entrepreneurial steps did you take after that, or during that, or when did you start adding other things?
You know, the other offices really came to play. They're not my main offices. This continues to be my main office, but I found other doctors that I really believed in and essentially bought in with them. I helped them manage it, but I kind of stay out of it. Just really make sure things run well. So really
that is such a great concept. A buddy of mine wanted to do that. We just couldn't really find the right formula in the doctors, because there's just not a lot of docs that want to work in some of these parts of New York State. That we could buy the practice with them and then bring them along and help mentor them, and then that becomes their office.
Right.
It's just a great idea.
I think it all comes down to just finding that lead doctor. Somebody who really cares and who wants to be invested in a business, but wants to deal less with the business logistics and just create something that's fair for everyone. Right. I mean, I think that our industry requires us to be extremely hands-on and extremely present to run a very high-touch experience. So you really need to have that kind of first-tier dentist running the show, and then everything else is gravy.
Okay, so you've gotten into other offices where you're we'll call it the managing owner, but not necessarily the deliverer of the services per se, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so how many of those things are you involved with now?
So three others.
Three
So
others.
total.
Okay. So you got your main office, three other offices. Any other things you're a part of?
The dental app, I mean, the dental app is pretty much my, you know,
I
I
was
have
gonna
other,
throw more on your plate, man.
yeah, no, but the dental app, is really one of my big passions. You know, we keep coming back to it, but, you know, at this point, 16 years since I graduated, 15 and a half years since I graduated dental school, I've worked and kind of mentored, hundreds of different dentists that have a variety of challenges. And even today, like the offices that I onboard to the dental app, I take a very hands-on approach, and it's not just like, hey, train them here, use this, but really trying to help them figure out HR challenges. I get calls all the time, like, you know, how do I deal with this? How do I respond to a bad review? How do I tackle this situation? Should I drop this insurance? Should I not drop this insurance? How, you know, and so on and so forth. And
Real
how
need
do I
for that.
it, which phase am I in? How do I track the high value patients? And so the dental app really encompasses not just software and you know, software that we're selling, but really just my goal in my career to become kind of a solid resource to other dentists who are looking to, you know, grow their own practices and do what I've been able to do, and you know, just get that get their practices to that next level and troubleshoot things that they may not be aware of. And this goes back to what we started talking about, which is most of the time we're coming out of school, we know the basics of how to you know, keep patients alive in the chair and do what we need to do, but that's about it, right? And really the running the practice and building the practice and scaling the practice comes with different challenges at every phase. And there's very little resources to help us out with that. And that is what I'm trying to encompass in the dental app, make it so much more than just software.
What was the biggest thing that you felt was missing that you've added to the dental software? Or a couple of things. Go ahead. I know we touched on them some.
I'm gonna say three things, right? And to me, these are things that I use in my own practice every single day, right? One is what we call the guided patient exam, right? So when a patient, like I started off with just me, and then it became me and an associate, and now I have 3 GP associates, an oral surgeon, and 4 hygienists working at my main office. And how do you make sure that every patient experience is consistent? How do you make sure that every doctor they see, the treatment planning is done in the same way, and that we're looking at the bite, and we're looking at the TMJ, and we're really addressing the person in a holistic fashion, right?
So how do you calibrate? That's the word I learned.
Oh, that's a great way. I should actually use that. So how do you calibrate across all the different clinicians? So my guided patient exam is not, you know, I don't claim to be like some clinical guru. I'm not John Coyce or anything like that, but I've taken the basics and the foundation of what's required to kind of assess a patient's oral health. And I've built a clinical workflow that's easy to follow, and it's like step-by-step, really big buttons. You can use it on an iPad, and it just helps you put together a storyline for the patient. So, you know, you start off, you document all the things that you would document anyway, hard tissue, existing restorations. You start putting in the treatment plans, but the things that it forces you to go through is making sure that you're taking a look at the bite, making sure that you're taking a look at the TMJ, making sure that you're taking a look at gum health, attachment loss, cancer screening, and then putting the treatment plan together in a way that makes sense, but also to the patient. So being able to specify things the patient must do, should do, or could do. Like what's urgent, you know, so, you know, what can wait a little bit? What can we watch for now? And just giving the dentist a tool to be better communicators, right? I feel like so many dentists could be better communicators and could build so much more trust by communicating more effectively, but they don't have the tools or the visuals to, you know, to kind of create those conversations or create opportunities for those conversations. So that's the guided patient exam I still use today. I force all my doctors to use it. And it's been a huge part of our storyline. Like if you go online and you look at what people say about my practice, one thing that's consistent is they'll say, this place is so thorough. They explain things to me in so much detail. And it's because of this guided patient exam that we've created a template or a format to have those conversations. So that's a huge win for me. and the practices that are using it are seeing those results as well.
Okay.
So that's one. Two, so one thing that happened in my practice is as we scaled, I think we got to a point where we had seen over 8,000 unique individual patients. Many left the area, some left for other reasons, whatever it is. But you get to a point that you have a lot of patients with outstanding treatment.
Yep.
And one thing I explain
Yep.
to dentists all the time is that we're running a dental office. It's not a spa. Patients aren't necessarily excited to come to your office to get a needle jabbed in their mouth, and get their, skulls drilled on, and then pay money for that, right? Like, you have to sometimes follow up with patients multiple times, right? So like in sales and marketing, like when you reach out to a sales lead, sometimes it requires 5, 6, 7 touch points. It could be over the course of 6 months before that sales lead says, you know what, I'm finally ready. Let's do this now. And patients come in, sometimes they need treatment and there's different things happening in their life. It's a financial thing. They're switching, they're traveling, they're switching insurances. They got a new job, they're getting married, whatever reason, they can't do the treatment then. And unless there's some form of a follow-up process to stay on top of that, most are not going to call you up and say, hey, you know what, I totally forgot, but I just remembered I need to come in for that crown. They're not going to do that on their own. And so having a process to keep track of those people, the leads, the conversations you had with them, why they're not doing it at that time, and having a system where you're not bombarding them and making them feel overwhelmed and making them feel like they're a sales lead.
Yeah.
That is part science and part like dark magic, right? Like, and historically, we would
These are like the gaps. These are the gaps in a lot of people's offices, right?
Right.
That people fall through the cracks, right?
Yes, and also I will tell you, there's another part to it, which is, part of it is gaps, but a lot of times you got to build your schedule. You can't just wait and pray that
Right.
people show up. Like if you have enough patients with this outstanding treatment that you're following up with, you're going to end up building your schedule on a regular basis until the point that you're booked out several months and you can worry less about it. But most practices I deal with don't have this process at all. They don't have a way to track these things at all. And if you wanted to today, like with the systems that exist, you have to kind of pull a report out of Dental Intel, take that list, put it into an Excel spreadsheet, and then someone's doing this in a manual fashion. And there's so many mistakes that happen that way. Balls get dropped. You're following up with patients too many times. It's keep track of which team member is doing what. So one of the
you only call the top of the alphabet,
Exactly. So we've built what we call, or just reference as, a pipeline. And in the dental app, you're actually able to search and create audiences based on outstanding treatment. So you're able to say, show me all the patients that have outstanding onlays that were recommended for them, that have been in the office in the last year. And it creates a list for you. And then through the app, you can follow up with them and essentially document that you followed up with them, set a follow-up date, snooze them, archive them, make notes like, patient doesn't have money, or, is waiting for insurance to renew, whatever it is. So that's a second really critical feature that's an absolute game changer. So imagine we onboard offices. So we take their existing data, we onboard them to our office, and from day one, they have opportunities to reach out to patients to grow their business, right? So first day they're using our app, they have these lists that they can go into and start messaging patients that are outstanding for recall, for wisdom teeth, whatever it is, out the gate. And I have some really great stories on how we've used that in our own practice. So we have an oral surgeon on our team. He's there twice a month. So he's there the first Thursday and third Tuesday of every month. And we had a scenario where at the beginning of this year, the first Thursday was January 2nd, and nobody really wanted to come in and get surgery that day. So it was a pretty dead day. And so we used our own software. We tried to find patients that have outstanding implants. We had 27 of them, and we reached out to all of them. And we got 4 patients to come in on a last minute basis, say, hey, it's a great time. It's the beginning of the year, your benefits renewed. And we ended up adding something like $15,000 to that day in production just by using that one feature, right? And that goes back to building the schedule, being proactive, keeping track of these things. So that's a really powerful part of our system. And the third one that I'll say, and this is a really big theme, I talk to so many dentists that don't know their numbers because they depend on office manager or their accountant. I'll walk into a a consultation with the doctor. I say, oh, what do you produce this month? I don't know. What did you collect last month? I don't know. I got to ask my accountant. What's your overhead? I still don't know. I got to ask my accountant that too. What's your outstanding in collections? I got to ask my office manager. I mean, they know nothing about their numbers. Some are a little bit more sophisticated, but the reality is that we get basic reports in most of these solutions, and we have to pay more for analytics. So for me, it was really important that when I rolled this out, I made analytics a core part of the offering, and it's included. It's not like something you have. Like you cannot run a business without numbers. Like if
Say
you
that
do
again.
not,
Hold on. Just say that one more time.
if you are not tracking and you don't have numbers on your business, you cannot run your business. You're not running your business.
You
it's
cannot
running
run
you.
your business without numbers.
Yes,
You can't.
exactly.
It's just a fact. And the fact that this been so diluted or divorced from practice management software is a crime. I mean, it really is. But keep
Absolutely.
going. I just want to just stress that point. That is so important.
No, and I thank you for that. But I really mean it. Like you cannot
No,
run practice. You don't
you're
know
preaching to the choir. I'm
you're
with you.
flying without analytics, you're flying blind. And so, look, I'll tell you that are there things that we could add more? Yeah, but we have a fantastic solution where you can segment by which clinician and time range and date range, and you can see how new patients affect your business, how existing patients, what are the top treatments you're doing, what's your revenue cycle look at, and then we have kind of like a window into the pulse of your business. So, just an overview. And it just comes out of the box. So again, you're not really trying to connect additional third-party solutions out of the box. You have this, and it's just really critical. So maybe it's not revolutionary, like the other two components of our system are really unique, but this is something that I hold really near and dear to my heart, because again, I'm all about trying to help practices grow. That's
Right.
what I'm really dedicating my efforts to. And it's the first thing that I tell dentists they need. Like you can't run your practice of any size. It could be tiny, a de novo, a starter. If you're not tracking things, you don't know what you're doing. And
Yeah, if you're not measuring it, you have no idea.
exactly. So those are the three things that I'd bring to mind.
Huge. I have to put you with Howard. I gotta get you to talk to Howard, because the things that you have made your core processes are things he's been kind of preaching for a long time, but
Yeah,
he'd
I
be
would really love
good
that.
person to talk to.
Yeah.
So, I got to ask you one question off track, just a tad.
Sure.
What instrument were you so good at that you went to college for?
I was a jazz saxophone player. So I was a lead alto player for state of California. I toured for San Mateo High School. That's where I went to school. And then I got into the California State Jazz Band. So I was lead alto, and I got to tour. We went to Hawaii. We did jazz festivals throughout California. But music was my first big passion. Some of my dental school classmates will probably remember me making a lot of noise on my dorm room, playing music. But still till today, I got my horn right here in the corner, and music is my life. I mean, it's
Got to
definitely
get Bruce Springsteen to give you a call when he comes out there, if he needs that saxophonist to step in where Clarence was, man.
a cool instrument. Yeah, but just music in general. Music is magic.
I had to ask, because I was like, I wrote it down. I was like, what instrument? I got to ask. All right, so all good. So talk about, since you're on and sponsoring the show, let's talk about what you're going to put a little promo together for our listeners. Let's
Totally.
talk.
Yeah, so I think it's important to note, I also think that dental software is overpriced. So, we get gouged in every direction. I really wanted to make something that was affordable. So our system is $399 a month. It's a flat rate. It includes unlimited users. It includes 500 insurance claims, 7,000 text messages, and 3,000 emails. So we have very few offices that go past that. And in the case that they go past it, I just pass along the overages. So for example, we connect with Dental Exchange. Dental Exchange charges 29 cents a claim. I'm not making money on it. I pass it along. I think you get another through Twilio.
I think people, they need to understand that, because I know you also do that with your imaging software. You're not passing along.
I actually give up my rev share on the imaging software.
People understand that, like what's a revenue share, right? A revenue share is you have you're like a distributor, right? It's like a little bit of a markup that you can get, and you're not getting it on these other things. I think that's important to note.
Exactly. Yeah, and again, I'm a dentist. I use this in my own practice. This software was designed, tested, perfected in a dental office that's really, really busy. And so there's a lot of things that are unique to us that are native to a dental office. And so a lot of offices that that use this are like, oh, this is really intuitive. It doesn't require a lot of training. So there's a lot of that aspect to it. But we've tried to make it affordable. So it's $3.99. It includes the analytics, the insurance claims dashboard, the guided patient exams, the pipeline, the automatic reminders, online forms, online scheduling, pretty much the whole gamut of what you'd need. It includes basic insurance verification also through Dental Exchange. And for your listeners, we're offering 3 months for free for signing up. And so
3 months for free, folks.
Yes, I do want one thing, and this is something that does come up a lot. I know that there's a lot of skepticism on going to the cloud. I know that there's a lot of skepticism about businesses going out of business. And I think this is a really important point that we don't talk about enough. But the dental app's been around now for 6.5 years. We are extremely close to being completely profitable. So there's no real risk of us going out of business. That's really not, we set to build this out. We've invested millions of dollars into this product, and we've set out from the get-go to build a business that can be scalable, but also have healthy numbers. We're not trying to build, and go out and raise like hundreds of millions of dollars and build something that's upside down and then have offices find like 6 years down the line, we're going out of business. Like, we're in this for the long run. We're extremely conscious about how we deploy capital. Our entire team is US based. Our support is mainly made up of people that have been office managers, insurance claim experts, et cetera. So it's not like some random support. And we're very, very hands-on, and we want our offices to love the process. So, this is something that makes us really unique because, and while we're still relatively small in the big scheme of things, as we grow, that experience that people have, I want to recreate the same experience that made my dental practice so successful.
I was just going to say, you want it to be what you wanted your dental practice to be. So if anything, right, history is going to repeat itself. That's why we follow and we learn it, right? This is how I'm going to grow my practice. This is how I'm going to grow my product.
Yeah.
It's
and you know what?
kind
That's how I've done business. I've been successful because I've always given so much more than people are asking of me, and that comes true with my clinical care, with my personal life, with what I'm doing with the dental app, and that's just a formula that's worked wonders for me. And so I'm sticking to it.
Let me tell you, I made a mistake. It's $1,200 over 3 months. Okay, bad math on my part, right? Fuzzy math. It's $400 times 3, right? So to get the deal, it's the dental app, all one word, .com/FFS. Okay, fee for service. Okay, so
sign up for a demo and
take a demo. Just get a demo. It's awesome.
Take a demo, go through that, and then we'll honor that through Sunny and this amazing podcast. And again, we just want to help offices grow. Even if you're just interested in learning more, you're not ready to switch. Most of the offices that we onboard, they're in one of two scenarios. They're either starting a new office, or they are getting to a kind of end of life of their server. Their server is kind of at the end of its ability to operate. They need to go and invest in new servers and computers, and they're taking the time to really research what's available in cloud. And so those are kind of the two scenarios that we face the most. But if you just want to learn more, you want to see what we're all about, happy to run you through a demo. If you have general questions about your practice, happy to answer that. And then you had mentioned Bob D. I did a demo. Bob put me through the ringer, man. Bob really, That's
his forte, though, the dental software stuff.
Man. He's so knowledgeable. He's super knowledgeable, and looking back, I really appreciate it now. But it took me like 6 months to get him to give his blessing. He got his IT guy to go through security details with us, and how do we encrypt, and how do we do 2-factor authentication, all that stuff. But finally, he gave me a green light, and I recorded a demo with him, and that's also available online on
Good
his
stuff.
YouTube.
All
Yeah.
right, last question I got to ask you, and then I want you to stick around for a minute or two.
Yes.
If you could go back in time, anywhere, anytime, any place, where would you go?
Oh, man. I'd probably go back to college and take more time. I just
What do you
take
mean? Slow it down, spend another
slow
year.
down. Yeah, I just take more
Pretty
time.
cool.
That's probably what I do. I feel like I got out of school, I started to just work. It was a hustle. It's not stopped. Funny enough, I joke about this all the time, but the longest vacation I had was COVID. COVID forced us to shut down, and that was a really great period of time. Like, I got to hang out and exercise more and take better care of myself, and it was just a really rewarding time. And I wish I had taken more time to enjoy college, learn other things. So if I had to do it again, I'd go back and just take more time.
Well, there you have it, folks. All right, man. I appreciate you. That was really great stuff. So anybody, again, it's the dental app, all one word.com/FFS4. A really good deal. But schedule a demo, even if you just want to see what's out there. It's really neat stuff. And we're deeply thinking about it. There's a couple things that as a group we're looking at, and we're talking with Dr. Tamir about how that's gonna work, and he's got some people working on it. So we're pretty excited about the future of the product. So thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Fee for Service Dentist Podcast. If you would like to share your fee for service story, please fill out our contact form at ffsdentistry.com. Also, be sure to join our Fee for Service Dentistry Facebook group. For help starting your dental membership plan, visit dentalmembershipdirect.com and membershipmastercourse.com. Finally, for help with in-house financing, visit dentalfinancingdirect.com. And don't forget, your story is what you make of it. This is your name on the door and your reputation on the line. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.